they say. That's new, that little message. But it does let us know. I suppose it means if anyone was sneakily trying to record you, they could. So I've pinned my video, so you should be able to see me in the full screen. I can still see all of you. You're cast onto my television, so I can see you all quite clearly. Just want to check volume levels. Are you all happy that we're loud enough? Yeah, good. Thank you for thumbs up. Perfect. So I'm going to start you on your back, but because I mentioned about the props, let's start with the brick, which is the slightly deeper one and slightly not quite as wide. And we're going to place that brick underneath this flat part, just above the fleshy bit of the bottom. So you're kind of resting the weight of your sacrum onto the brick. So the easiest way to do it is to come with bent knees, to lift your bottom from the floor and to just rest the bony part above the bottom onto the block. If it's too high, it will feel uncomfortable in the spine. Now, I quite often have a block on standby when I'm in this posture, because sometimes it's nice to have that little bit of support at the back of the head. So if you need anything extra under your head, whether it's a cushion or a block, now is the time to get yourself comfortable. So we'll start for the moment with the knees bent so that we really get that sense of the weight of the body, almost like sinking around the brick. You can probably feel a little bit of release already in the lower back. And we just want that sense of the arms becoming heavy by your side, the back of the head releasing, making sure that the shoulders are soft and released down away from the ears, softening the jaw, relaxing the tongue and the well of the mouth. And for now, it just feels almost as though gravity is inviting you to sink a little more deeply into the earth, while you allow this brick to support the space at the back of the hips and any other support that you may have chosen to support the back of the neck or the back of the head. Bring your awareness to the breath, and we'll just spend a few moments slowing the breath down, deepening the inhalation, lengthening the exhalation. Think of every out-breath as a letting go. Now, because the hips are raised a little higher than the lungs, you might have to work a little harder to feel the belly rise on the inhale. Then as you allow the belly to soften and release on the exhale, you get that sense of the wide muscles of the back spreading, releasing. If you've space to do so, on the next inhalation, lift the arms up and overhead and just rest the backs of the hands on the floor. If this feels tight through the chest, if you feel restricted in the shoulders, then by all means try taking the arms a little wider, a soft bend in the elbows. We just want to encourage an expanse through the chest, a deep release through the hips. And again, turning the awareness to the breath. Inhaling deeply to the belly, the chest and the collarbones. Exhaling fully from the collarbones, the chest and the belly last. Widening and expanding to fill the space that surrounds you. Then softening and releasing. Feeling the belly let go. Now maintain this gentle, steady, regular breath And as you come to the next inhale, extend the right leg along the mat. We'll keep the left knee bent and just let the weight of the foot roll the toe out to the side. So you'll find a little more space in the inner thigh, in and around the hip. We'll just pause here. And I'll remind you that as this is a slightly more yin posture, it takes a while for the muscles to let go. Every out breath, feel yourself unclench. That right hip become a little further released. Encouraging the space between the hip bones, a softening in the pelvis. Now, as I've mentioned many times, none of us are level balanced fully through the hips. So we'll do this one leg at a time, bending the right knee up, now extending the left leg out. And just notice any differences. It's not unusual to find that one side is slightly more resistant. You may notice that on one side, you hold yourself a little more keenly. Remember, the key here is to let go, to allow the hips to become heavy, and to soften into this space. Maintain an awareness on the breath. Then as you come to the next exhale, rather than bringing that leg back in, let's extend the right leg forward. So that space in the lower back is now a little more exposed, but we've given ourselves plenty of time for the muscles to let go of their tight grip around the sacrum, across the piriformis. So just check in, notice if you're clenching the buttocks. Soften this space at the back of the hips, at the top of the thighs. You'll start to really notice the weight of the hips bearing down into the brick now. Now on our next exhalation, draw the tummy button in so you feel that you're controlling, engaging the core, supporting the spine as you walk the feet back in again. Soles of the feet to the mat, little gap between the thighs, as you push down into the soles of the feet and lift the bottom up off of the brick. Now bring your hands back down and we're going to take hold of that brick and we're just going to roll it up one face. So the brick is now at a higher point, so you're kind of positioning the bottom onto the thinner part of the brick at the side. Again, we'll take a moment just to allow the sacrum to register, the hips to soften, to stop that little bit of holding on. Then again, we'll repeat extending the right leg forward. Again, I wouldn't be surprised if you found this a little intense. So rather than clenching, controlling, soften and release. And again, we'll give it one leg at a time. So we'll bring the right leg back in, extend the left leg, and let that soften. This is where you perhaps will notice a slight imbalance at the back of the hips. Most of us hold one hip higher than the other. Now extend the right leg. So this has become quite an exposed, but still very gentle and supported back bend for the lower back. If you feel any pain or discomfort, at any time bend the knees back up. And again, we're just going to allow gravity to draw us a little more deeply towards the floor. Now on your next exhale, once more engage the core, walk the feet in. I think it's easier to keep the heels off the floor for a moment, then gently squeeze the heels down towards the mat, push down into the soles of the feet, and I'll suggest that we slide that brick out from underneath the bottom. So it's just fresh air now, holding you up in the supported bridge pose. Then if you start at the space between the shoulder blades, we can slowly start to roll down through the spine. Take it vertebra by vertebra, easing through middle back, working towards the lower back. It feels like it takes forever. Then bringing the back of the hips to fully release and rest here. Softening that space of the lower back. I'm going to now take that space a little bit wider. Enjoy a little bit of a deeper release. So bring the arms up to make a T shape. We're resting the backs of the hands on the floor, palms turned up towards the ceiling. Then we'll lift the left foot up and place the ankle on the outside of the right thigh. Push down into the sole of the right foot and then press the hips over to the right side. Now we can replace the back of the hips on the floor. We just want to make sure we've got that slight diagonal line so the right hip is just a little further over than the right shoulder. Beautiful. Then on the exhale, draw the tummy button in. On the inhale, lift the bottom from the floor. On the next exhale, just turn your gaze now to look over the right arm. Bring the gaze back to center. Then turn to look over the left arm. And again, bring the gaze back towards center. Replace the bottom to the floor. Remember, you're slightly pushed over to the right side. So we're going to lift the bottom up again. And this time we're going to push the hips all the way over to the left side. So again, we're off center. Replace the back of the hips to the floor. Then allow that left knee to come over the midline of the body, tracing a line all the way down to the floor on your right side. Because we took the hips over to the left, now when we have this twist, the hip will now be in alignment with the shoulder. And we can breathe and release a little more deeply into the left side of the ribcage. Resting the gaze over the left hand. And to come a little more deeply into this release, using the right hand to the side of the left thigh to apply gentle pressure, to track the knee a little closer to the floor. And you'll just feel that releases a little bit more around the outside of the left hip, down the side of the thigh. As we keep the weight of the left shoulder to the floor, we also open a little more deeply into that left side of the ribcage, into the underarm. Now remove the hand from the side of the thigh, come back to that T-shaped position. Exhale to draw the tummy button in. We'll keep the back of the hips on the floor as we roll the knees back towards center. Unhook that left foot. Remember that the hips are ever so slightly off to the left, so simply lift the bottom up, realign the hips with the shoulders, replace the feet hip width apart. Then we'll bring the right foot up and over. So again, we'll start the wrong way first, pushing down into the sole of the foot, taking the hips over to the left side, then replacing the bottom to the floor, turning the gaze firstly over the right arm, then bringing the gaze over the left arm, engaging the core, bringing the head back to center, pushing down into that left foot, lifting the bottom up, Then squeezing the hips all the way over to the right side, replacing the back of the hips to the floor. So we're back out of alignment, the right hip overshooting the left shoulder. On an out breath, bring the right knee over to the left side, keeping that right shoulder stuck to the floor, turning the gaze along the length of the right arm. And again, if you wish to apply a little extra pressure to deepen the stretch, place the hand to the outside of the right thigh. And as you draw the knee a little deeper towards the floor, you'll find more release around the right side of the hip, the side of the thigh. Breathing fully into that space at the right of the ribcage, into the underarm. Then on an exhale, engaging the core, removing the hand from the thigh and rolling the knees back again towards centre. Unhook that right foot. Take a moment now to lift the hips back to centre. So in effect, we create tram line from the heel to the hips to the shoulders. And just to give that lower back a little more opening, a little more release, hug both knees in towards the chest. Gently rock from one side to the other, soothing any tension across the sacrum and into the lower back. Then as you bring the body back to centre, cross the feet at the ankles. This is a bit of a strange one. So we cross the feet at the ankles, we open the knees wide, and then we're going to bring the hands in between the knees. So try not to go to the outside of the legs, come to the inside, grab hold of the ankles and draw the ankles a little closer to the chest. So this is a really nice stretch for the piriformis. The piriformis comes up off of the sacrum, and it can quite often translate into lower back pain, which can feel a little bit like sciatica. So we're gently going to rock from one side to the other, just keeping the back of the hips skimming the floor. Then rolling back towards centre, letting go of the ankles, then bringing the soles of the feet together, repositioning the hands either side of the hips, then pressing the feet together, lifting the legs up. So we've got a little extended Baddha Konasana with feet above the body. Exhaling, drawing the tummy button in, sliding the heels back towards the groin, resting the sides of the feet on the floor now, and allowing the knees to soften, to open, deepening into that space in the inner thighs, in and around the hips. Again, we're allowing gravity to release, soften and let it go. Then on the next exhale, engage the core and slide the thighs towards one another. Replace the feet hip width apart. And again, I'm going to suggest that we take hold of the brick and have the block or another brick on standby in case you need it. So we're going to use the brick as a prop again to hold up the body. This time we're going to position the brick underneath the shoulder blades. So a bit like we did before, we want to make sure that the brick isn't too far down the spine that it causes any discomfort. So we're resting the full weight into the flat of the brick. And I need another brick under my head because I personally find it too far to lean back. I don't enjoy that on the back of my neck. You could use a pillow, a cushion, or you could stack even your block and brick together if it's just not enough for you. And then again, by positioning the hands either side of the hips, we allow the shoulders to become heavy, the arms to release. And we get a sense of widening through the chest, through the collarbones. And we're encouraging an upper thoracic spine release. So this back bend is a little higher in the spine. It's a very natural action. But through our everyday posture, we tend to not do this one as often, so it can feel a little strange. So again, we're just going to allow gravity a little bit of time to encourage that letting go. Inhaling again to lift the arms overhead, resting the backs of the hands to the floor. You'll feel this much more intense into the space under the shoulder blades. So take it steady. Bending the elbows will shorten the lever. Then as you exhale, bring the arms up and over again, resting the backs of the hands either side of the hips, and again softening the shoulders down, really widening through that space across the chest. Take a deep breath in through the nose. As you exhale through the mouth, draw the tummy button towards the spine. Inhale through the nose, filling that space from shoulder to shoulder. As you exhale again, engage the core. Now on the next inhalation, I want you to almost wedge the elbows, the forearms into the floor so that you can just nudge the upper body up to slide that brick again out from underneath the shoulders. Then take a moment to roll through the spine. Remove the additional brick that was supporting your head. And just ease again into this space. So it's a similar effect to having had a massage if your back was very tight. We've soothed out all those muscles that tend to hold us in a very curved position in the upper spine. On the next inhalation, lift and lengthen through the right leg, pointing, then flexing through the toe, gently mobilizing the ankle, pressing through the heel, ironing out that little bend in the knee as you bring the sole of the foot parallel to the ceiling. Lower the heel down until both thighs are level. Then use the big toe to draw 3 circles in towards the midline of the body. Then take 3 circles the opposite way. Point through the toe. Come again to flexion, pushing through the heel. Then on an out breath, hug that right knee to the chest. Again, getting back into that space in the lower back. Direct the right knee out towards the right shoulder. Try to keep the weight equal between the back of the hips. Then draw that knee back again towards centre. Replace the right foot to the floor. Reposition the hands either out to the side or either side of the hips. Then lift and lengthen through the left leg. Same mobilization, pointing and flexing through the toe. With every out breath, trying to get that leg a little straighter. Quite often that tension we hold in the lower back is related to tension in the calf, in the back of the hamstrings. So press through the heel, draw the back of the hips to the floor, engage the core, float that heel down, just so that we've got the thighs level with one another. Then use the big toe to draw 3 circles in. Use the toe the opposite direction. Then on an out breath, hug that left knee to the chest. Then direct that knee out to the left shoulder. Bring that knee back to centre. Hug the right knee in. So both knees in towards the chest. Removing the hands from the shins as you widen the arms back to that T-shaped position. Then on an out breath, roll both knees to the right, turning your gaze along the length of the left arm. Again, lots of space into the side of the rib cage here. The key is keeping that left shoulder stuck to the floor. Because we've taken a little time to create space around that hip, you'll possibly find this posture a little more giving than it normally is. As you exhale, draw the tummy button in, roll the knees through centre. Take them to the opposite side, this time turning your gaze along the length of the right arm. And again, we're back into that familiar Opening, release, gentle twist in the middle back and lower back on that deep, wide opening through the side of the ribcage. On the next out breath, draw the tummy button in, rolling the knees back towards centre. You can choose to either position the hands behind the thighs or onto the shins as you gently roll up, then roll back down. Just take a few moments, allowing a little linear release along the spine. We've done a lot of twisting, so let's keep it in a nice linear shape. Then bring yourself up to a seated position. Lovely. It all got a bit too dreamy and floaty light there, keeping you on your back. You've created an extra inch or so in the spine today. You'll be feeling a little bit taller. So can we come please to a cross-leg position? I'm going to suggest we bring the left foot in first, park the right foot in front, lift up out of the sit bones. So we've got that nice long line from the back of the head to the tailbone. Bring the hands either side of the hips, slide the right hand away and press that palm into the floor. So you want to feel that grounding, that connection. Lift and lengthen with the left hand, turning your gaze up to the middle fingers. Feel the weight is equal through the sit bones. As you start to bring that right elbow in towards the rib cage and you lead the left arm over the top of the body. Lifting your gaze up towards the fingertips, every out breath easing a little more deeply into the space. Inhaling to lift and come back to centre, then widening and expanding, turning the gaze up to the right hand, left elbow in for support as we come over the midline of the body again. Inhale again to lift and come back to centre. Reposition the hands in front of the ankles. So we're going to take a little walk forward, but remember the end game here isn't necessarily to get the chest or the head to the floor. It's more about finding the length. So lifting out of the sit bones, then easing the elbows towards the floor. And my preference is always to keep the head up. I think when we start to lower the head, it can encourage that excessive curve in the upper spine that we want to avoid. Every out breath a little deeper into this space. Then push into the palms of the hands, bring your gaze to the end of the fingertips, engage the core and walk the hands back towards the ankles. Reposition the hands behind the hips, shoulder blades drawn together. We want to feel connected through the shins, through the sit bones, as we lift and lengthen through the sternum, opening the gaze towards the ceiling, drawing the shoulder blades together, widening into the space through the front of the chest. On the out breath, release, exhale to draw the tummy button in, line up the back of the head with the tailbone again, and bring the soles of the feet together. Place the hands on either the ankles or the toes for comfort. Realign, lifting out of the sit bones, exhaling to ease forward. And again, no curve in the spine, still that nice gentle diagonal line from the back of the head to the tailbone. With every out breath, just coming a little more deeply into this space in the inner thighs. Shoulder blades together, core engaged. Inhale to lift and come back to centre. We'll do the leg cross on the opposite side, so right heel in towards the groin, left foot in front. Lifting and lengthening again out of the sit bones. Bringing the left hand to rest on the right knee, but avoiding pulling that knee towards the body. So if anything, a little gentle pressure to push the knee away. Repositioning the right hand behind the hip, lifting up out of the sit bones, then coming into a gentle twist here. So we're going to stay in this position of the twist, inhaling again to re-lengthen, lifting out of the sit bones. Then we'll use the eyes rather than the head, just to roll your gaze around this corner. Exercising the muscles of the eyes, taking your gaze down to the floor, then lifting your gaze up towards the ceiling. Exhaling to draw the tummy button in, then releasing that tension as you turn the shoulders to face the front of the room, extending both arms forward. Pressing through the fingertips, drawing the shoulder blades together, engaging the core. Bring the palms together, right forefinger over left, opening the hands towards the heart. We'll hold that interlock position as we encourage a deeper curve through the spine. So a bit like doing a cat stretch, we're pressing and rolling the spine towards the back of the room, nodding the chin to the chest. Then as you inhale and lift back to center, turn that interlock so the palms are facing forward. Lift the arms up overhead. Soften the shoulders down away from the ears. Keep that awareness again of equal weight through the sit bones, so we don't distribute the weight to the side. We lift and extend through the left as we open towards the right side, turning the gaze up towards the left corner of the room. Exhaling to engage the core, inhaling to return to center, then exhaling to take that extension to the opposite side. Engaging the core, lifting up back to center. Then as you separate the hands, we'll come into that twist on the opposite side. So again, pressing into the palms to lift and align, exhaling to come into the twist. Pausing here to allow the muscles of the eyes to just take in all the space that surrounds you here. Looking up towards the ceiling, looking down towards the floor. Then softening the gaze, exhaling, engaging the core, and bringing the gaze forward. The hands now rested in front of the knees, exhaling to draw the tummy button in, curving through the spine, nodding the chin to the chest. So it feels again like a cat stretch through the spine. Then we'll take it the opposite way. So slightly pressing into the tops of the thighs as you open the chest forward, turning your gaze towards the ceiling. Then exhaling, curving into the cat stretch. Inhaling, lifting out of the sit bones, opening through the chest. One more cat stretch, exhaling. Inhaling to lift, opening through the chest. Then again, bring the gaze forward. Soften the shoulders down away from the ears. And we'll take the feet wide. So both toes pointing up towards the ceiling, a little slack behind the knees, toes pointing up as we bring the hands in front of the body. And on an out breath, take another little walk forward. So remember, there's no need to get too far forward here. Ideally, we want to become aware of a deeper stretch to the inner thigh. You might notice a little improvement in the mobility in and around the hips, but we'll ultimately be limited by the tightness at the back of the hamstrings. You might even notice it on the back of the knees, so keep the knees soft. As you exhale, draw the tummy button in. As you inhale, walk back to center. We'll bring the soles of the feet together now, so we make a Dandasana shape. When we come to Dandasana, the toes pointing up towards the ceiling, and we want to create a straight line again from the back of the head to the tailbone. So there needs to be a little bit of slack somewhere, so usually allowing the knees to soften will stop you from feeling too much discomfort in the lower back. Extend both arms forward. Inhale to lift the arms up. Press through the fingertips and lift a little more out of the sit bones. On the out breath, draw the shoulders down away from the ears. Inhale to lengthen again through the fingertips. Then bring the palms together. Position the ears between the upper arms. Then on the next exhale, keep that core engaged as you bring the hands back to the heart. Then reposition the hands either side of the hips, bending the knees up. A bit like our bridge pose earlier, lifting the bottom from the floor, creating where we can a nice straight line from the knee through the hip to the shoulder. So you might have to just lift the bottom open into the front of the thighs. Then as you exhale, release and bring the sit bones to the floor. Lovely. So I'm going to bring you all up into a standing position now. So rather than me prescribe how you get to your feet, I will give you a moment to get yourself up into a standing position. And we'll make sure that the heels are hip width apart, that there's a little gap to the insides of the feet. Turning the palms towards the front of the room. Inhaling to squeeze the shoulders up, then exhaling to release the shoulders down. Inhale to squeeze the shoulders up. A little more control now as we roll the shoulders back and down. Back to opening that space through the chest. Come to an interlock with left forefinger over right behind the lower back. And we want to take care when we're here that we don't push the hips forward. So tuck that tailbone under, lift the belly up, then slide the hands away from the lower back to really feel that stretch through the chest, into the collarbones. Then release the hands back. Separate. Lift both arms up overhead. Bring the palms together so we're in an Anjali Mudra. Fingertips extended as far away from the top of the head as you can reach. Shoulders relaxed. Then on an exhale, take a gentle extension to the right, opening into the left of the rib cage. Inhale to come back to center. Then take that extension to the opposite side. Inhaling again back to center. Returning the hands to the heart. Now reposition the hands on the hips. We're going to keep a nice line from the back of the tailbone down to the heels, softening the knees if required as we just gently hinge forward. We're only coming to a 90-degree angle, so we're not going to go any deeper. You can tell that my hamstrings are tight, so I've always got a big old bend in the knees. Pressing the sit bones back, drawing the shoulder blades together, almost as though we're pulling the sternum forward. Feel as though the top of the head is reaching forward. Then as you exhale, take the hands from the hips, slide the sit bones back, come into a squat posture as we come to the chair pose. Focus on the breath here. Every out breath engaging the core. Every in breath is cooling the thighs down. Maintain your focus, your core engagement, strengthen the thighs. Then on the next exhale, lower the hands. On the next inhale, push into the soles of the feet and lift back to center. A little balance now as we lift the right knee. The knee as high as the hip if we can. So we don't really want the knee down here. And ideally we want to feel the heel directly underneath the knee. So we're making 90-degree angles at the hip, at the knee and at the ankle joint. Underside of the foot parallel to the floor. Then use the big toe to draw 3 circles in. Then 3 circles the other way. Balance isn't easy, particularly not on a hot day. Hydrate. Then replace that foot to the floor. Core engagement, lift the opposite foot. So same idea with the 90-degree angles. Find your center. Then use the big toe to again mobilize the ankle. Turning both ways for good measure. Then rather than replacing that foot to the floor, we're going to take that leg back. Lovely. And we're going to press that heel to the floor. And rather than having a bend on this front knee, we're just going to gently iron it out a little. Keep it soft, but no bend in the knee. So that front leg, try to straighten it if you can. Hands to the hips. As you exhale, hinge forward. And again, we'll hold here at a 90-degree angle. We're not going to come any further. Shoulder blades drawn together. See if you can get a nice line from the back of the head to the tailbone. See if you can figure out if one shoulder is maybe lower than the other. Sometimes we kind of lean into that extended leg. As you exhale, engage the core. Inhale, come back to center. Then step the opposite foot back. I think it helps to place the feet hip width apart. If they're too close, we lose our balance. Back heel to the floor, insides of the feet parallel. Then on and out breath, hinge forward. Shoulders square to the floor, hips not moving, pressing the sit bones to the back of the room. That tiny little lift in the tailbone will exaggerate the stretch to the back of the thigh. Then as you exhale, engage the core. As you inhale, come back to center. Perfect. So we're going to leave the feet practically in the position that they're in. So the right toe is pointing away. We'll come up onto the ball of the left foot and we'll have the left foot pointing forward. So we're coming into a warrior two position if you're familiar with that. So Gloria, you need to turn your body, I think, to face me, and then that will make it easier for you to work out the mirroring. Yeah, perfect. So your left foot is effectively parallel to the back edge of the mat. The front toe is pointing away from you. So if you look down, it's as if you make a T shape with the feet. Take a soft bend in that front knee, but let's not overdo it because we want a little bit of space to move into. Then widen the arms. I actually don't think my feet are wide enough apart, so I'm going to take it a little wider. Then on and out breath. You effectively want to float the sit bones down. So don't want to feel as though you're moving your body weight forward and coming into the knee. I want you to feel as though you're easing deeper. So we're opening more into this space in the underside of the thigh. Turn the gaze along the front of the right arm. Soften the shoulders, soften the jaw. You're a warrior, but you come in peace. Veronica, can you go side on for me as well, please? So, because actually I'm looking at you the wrong way. And I think you might be mirroring me differently. So bring your shoulders to face forward and your hips to face forward. So rather than facing over your leg, can you turn towards me, towards the screen? Keep bringing your shoulders round. Yay, you're there. Perfection. Now on the out breath, sink that front forearm onto the thigh, lift the gaze up to the middle fingers of the backhand. Then on an inhale, reverse. So lifting the front arm up, exhaling, easing forward. Inhaling, lifting up, sinking that backhand into the hip to support the lower back. Exhaling, easing forward. Inhaling, lifting up. One more sink forward. Then when you come into your inhale, support the lower back, lift the gaze up to the middle finger of that front arm. Then on and out breath, keep the core engaged, extend the arms out again and come back to that warrior two position. Lovely. Ease a little deeper. Shoulders over the hips, hips facing forward. Exhale to draw the tummy button in and we'll straighten that front leg. So we're going to take the bend out of the knee. We're going to follow the fingers of the right hand. So we're extending over the toe. Then we'll turn our attention to the backhand. So we're going to look to the fingers of the backhand, lift that backhand up as you allow the front arm to simply swing forward, coming into triangle pose. Shoulder blades drawn together. Engaging the core. Then inhaling to lift up, come back to center, and then soften the arms down by your side. Lovely. So those of you who are not facing me, Linda's probably the exception here because you know what the terminology is. Can I suggest that you adjust your camera so that I can see you head on? Because I'm kind of having to guess that people are in the right position. and I don't want to get it wrong for you. We don't want to twang anything or twist anything. So all we're going to do with feet is change that back foot now. So the right foot becomes the stopper. It becomes parallel to the edge of the mat and it's facing forward towards the screen. The left foot, we're going to pivot so that the toe is facing away. So we're doing the opposite to what we did in the front side. Perfect. Oh, Joe, that's really helpful. I can see you much more clearly now. So hips facing forward. This is what feels strange. So when we're in this position, naturally the hips want to follow the front leg. So it feels very odd, but we want to try to bring the hips forward. And if this feels too intense on the hips, you can slacken off a little in the knee just to give the joints a little better support. Widen the arms. Turn the gaze over that front arm, so over the left arm. Then we'll float the sit bones down again. So we're coming back into this warrior two position. So the key in the warrior two position is that we don't want that right shoulder or right hip to sneak forward. We want to keep them open so that we create a square from the shoulder to the hip. Then as you exhale, draw the tummy button in. We sink the left forearm onto the thigh. Then look up to the middle fingers of the right hand. Then we use the right hand to support the lower back. Inhale to lift up and look up. So exhale, inhale, lift up. Exhale, inhale, lift up. Exhale, inhale, lift up. One more sink forward. Then this time on the inhale, we'll come back up into the warrior two position. So you might want to reset the hips, the shoulders. The wrists are nice and soft. Turning the gaze again along the length of the left arm. Then we'll straighten that left leg. So we're taking the bend out of the knee. And then the action here is to extend. So extend the fingertips past the toe. So we keep a diagonal line from the shoulder all the way down to the back of the right heel. Then turn your gaze to the right hand, let the left arm swing forward and look up towards the middle fingers of the left hand. So ideally we're not leaning on the standing leg. We're just using that for a little bit of guidance to keep the chest open. Then inhaling to lift and come back to center. Lovely. Bring the hands back on the hips. Use the heel on that left foot to turn both toes forward. And again, we're not going to go past midpoint. We're going to come to a 90-degree angle here. Pushing the sit bones to the back of the room, drawing the shoulder blades together. Imagining you have a tray of drinks on your back. So you don't want to spill them, that would just be a waste of good gin. Press the sit bones back of the head lining up with the tailbone. Then as you exhale, engage the core, soften the knees if required, then inhale, lift back to center. Step either the left foot in or the right foot in so that the feet are now together in mountain pose. Turning the palms again towards the front of the room. Inhale to lift the arms up overhead, pressing again through the fingertips, then exhaling to soften the shoulders down away from the ears. Let's bring the right arm forward as we take the left arm back. So start in a nice slow motion, slow it down. So the right arm comes forward, the left arm comes back. And I'll give you a moment for your brain to figure that out, because some of you look like you're doing the Irish jig or swimming the channel. But that's okay, as long as we're moving. We're mobilising the shoulders. Bring both arms up overhead again. And now that your brain's finally clicked into that, we're going to do it the opposite way and it's going to go, forget it, mate, not happening. So now we're going to bring the left arm forward, the right arm back. I like setting you these little challenges. It's like patting your head and rubbing your tummy at the same time. DISCO. Now bring both arms overhead. Press through the fingertips. Let's bring the hands to an interlock. So you're literally pulling the thumbs together, pressing away with the fingers. Then again, we'll ease into that side extension. Inhaling back to center. Exhaling to take it to the opposite side. Then inhaling again, back to center. Bring the hands back to an Anjali Mudra at your heart. We want to keep the core engaged. Then we'll slide the sit bones back and I'll return you to chair pose, which is where we began this sequence. Shoulder blades drawn together. Every out breath, perhaps seeking a little more release in the thighs, so pushing the sit bones back. Avoiding too much build-up of tension in the knees. So focusing on the breath, cooling the thighs down with every inhale. With every exhale, recruiting the help of the core, the glutes. Then push down into the soles of the feet. Inhale, lift up, lift the arms overhead. Try to keep the thighs where they are, so don't press the hips forward. As you inhale, looking up to the thumbs, opening the upper thoracic spine, easing back into a gentle back bend. Then exhaling, engaging the core, bringing the hands back again to heart. Repositioning the hands on the hips. I'm going to sink forward into that 90-degree angle again, so we're not upside down. And to give the backs of the legs a little release, we're going to peel the right heel from the floor, then push that heel down, peel the left heel from the floor. So you're kind of coming up onto the opposite balls of the feet, creaking all those toe joints. Then pressing both heels to the mat, extending the arms forward again. One more beautiful chair pose. Focusing on the breath, cooling down. Then bring the hands either side of the thighs. Inhale to push into the soles of the feet and come back to standing. Lovely. So I'm going to do your final Shavasana in a standing position. So mountain is best. Mountain is where we have the heels directly underneath the hips. If that makes you feel a little dizzy, you might want to just take the feet a tiny bit wider. Tiny bit wider is okay, not so wide that you can drive a bus through, because that will just destabilize the hips. So allow the hands to rest by your side. And when you're ready, simply close the eyes. Line up the back of the head with the back of the heels. Then inhale to squeeze the shoulders up again. Exhale to roll the shoulders back and down. Keep the eyes closed and visualize the journey of your breath. So follow the breath from the tip of the nose along the nasal passages. Feel the breath over the throat center. With each deeper inhalation, feel the expansion and widening into the lungs and the ribcage. And as you come to your next full deep inhalation, direct that breath to the belly. As you exhale, soften the belly, the chest, and the collarbones. Inhaling deeply to the belly, the chest, and the collarbones. Exhaling fully now in reverse from the collarbones, the chest, and the belly last. Focus on this deep yogic breath. Every out breath, releasing any tension. Feeling any fatigue in the body, simply melt into the earth beneath you. Do one further full cycle of the deep yogic breath. Inhaling to the belly, the chest and the collarbones. Exhaling from the collarbones, the chest and the belly last. Now gradually nudge your breath back towards a natural, easy rhythm. Long, steady breath in. Controlled release, breath out. Equal length to the inhale and to the exhale. Then bring your hands to an Anjali Mudra in front of the heart. Take a moment to blink, the eyes open. Touch to the head for kind thoughts, to the lips for kind words, and to the heart for kind intentions. The light in me honours the light in you. Namaste. There you go, I tricked you, you finished in standing. You had a long time lying down at the beginning, so I thought that would be best.